Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tuesday's session of Applied Near Life. My name is Dr. Esa Zanambasi, and I've been doing these sessions on Zoom for about 5 years now. And this one is very special because we are going into April, and many of you might know that April is Autism Awareness Month. So I am so privileged and I have the honor of having some guests. So I hope this will be a lot of fun and a lot of learning. Now, I want to talk about special children. Other people call them special needs children, but I like to call them special children. And they tend to have those conditions that you can see there, ADHD, which I will touch on, but today we are focusing on autism, and then other things like allergies, anxiety, and autoimmune disorders. So the question is, what can we do to make a difference? And because April is Autism Acceptance Month or Autism Awareness Month, we want to educate and therefore learn and share accurate information to reduce stereotypes. We want to advocate, get support, and support policies that help autistic individuals. And we also want to listen to those with autism because autistic voices matter. And it is very important to listen to their experiences. And of course, we want to support and to give practical help and create sensory safe spaces. I'm just going to request the Rainbow Room to please switch off your video. I'll tell you why, so that the screen remains uninterfered with. You'll switch it on later. Thanks, you actually asked. And so that is our brief for this evening. So everybody should be asking, what is autism? And what is the autism spectrum disorder? Well, it is a developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and interact accurately. And as you see, it is a vast disorder. It's a huge spectrum with various manifestations. In early childhood, one can see some top signs, which you can see. I'll just point out a few, like hysterics or temper tantrums, or the tendency to be depressed, or intolerance to sounds. And you'll look at that later on. But when children grow into adults, I just had this one about ADHD, which is part of the spectrum. There can be challenges such as mood disorders, sleep disorders, and one that is of concern is substance use or disorders. So we are dealing with something that we need to discuss. Now, we are all learning, and I just want to say that autism is a combination of genetic and non-genetic influences, and they are factors that may increase the risk, which include pregnancy and birth complications, such as extreme prematurity, multiple pregnancies, and pregnancies that are too closely spaced, less than a year, and of course, advanced parental age. So it has been said that to lower the risk, when there is optimal prenatal preparation, particularly nutrition, that helps a great deal. And then ADHD, very, very briefly, hyperactivity and attention deficit. And it has been in the mainstream conversation for a long time, for many, many years. So we'll just move swiftly along to say that In the body, there are metabolic pathways that use nutrients, and we can also think about um, two aspects. Mr. Kitio, please stop it. Two aspects, internal factors such as gene mutations and external factors such as diet, the gut microbiome, exposure to toxins, and stress. These are what we call epigenetic factors, but there is a genetic component. So our focus will be on what we can control, which are the epigenetic factors. And it is important to understand that it is an individualized approach to every person. There's no one size fits all. And I'm sure we'll hear a lot about that. So finally, the gut-brain connection is something that we need to be always aware of because digestion and gut health affect the brain, causing symptoms that affect several systems. So it is crucial to remember that one needs to meet these requirements: adequate nutrients, normal inflammatory response, in other words, the body knows how to deal with inflammation, good cellular and metabolic function, good proper digestion, and adequate detoxification. And I'm sure we'll discuss it at length that some of those can be challenging. Now, I have the utmost pleasure of introducing this amazing group of ladies, and they are going to form our panel. And I'm actually going to ask them to introduce themselves. But starting top left corner is Dr. E or Jock. She'll introduce herself properly. And then top right corner is Amber. And then bottom right is Malisa. And bottom left is Eunice Ntuli of the Rainbow Room. So right now I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see everybody that is talking, and we'll take it from there. So starting with Malisa and Eve. I'll start with Eve. If you're ready, if you're not, we can start with Malisa to introduce yourself and tell us your story in a few minutes. Eve, you're ready? Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello,
Go
here
for
I
it.
am.
Good.
And very honored and actually happy to be part of this really interesting discussion. So I am Olive Ojok, veterinary doctor and a former colleague and like a classmate of SSR's. We were together in the same high school for some good number of years. And we have met once again after, I think, maybe 40 years, is it? 40 plus years on the forum of Neolife. And so I'm a mother of 7. And we were blessed with our firstborn. He's Liandi Odwar. And he was born and described later on as being on the autism spectrum. He is much older. He's in the 30s. So we're excited to be part of this. And if you hear anything in the background, that is my son doing his investigations on on inventions. He loves inventions. So thank you.
Let's hear from Malisa now before we go on to the guests, the ladies who are from the Rainbow Room.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Malisa Sebachije Nalongo. I'll add the Nalongo bit. That means I have twins. Now, those were my first babies. They'll be 36 years old in June. So they were born by cesarean section. My obstetrician is on the call. And they grew up well. And I think the challenge I had was I had something to call. They reached their milestones well until about the age of 3 when the boy Daniel started regressing, and I didn't know why, how. Obviously, Dr. Esiza, having seen this, I identified there was a problem. And when she talked about it, mentioned it, I guess all of you have heard of the 5 stages of, let me call it grief, where you get into anger, denial, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. So when she told me, I was actually angry. You know, here you are with your first babies and somebody's telling you there's something wrong. Of course, she was the messenger. I couldn't quite flog her, though I was angry at her for a while. I don't know why. Then I went into this denial. I said, no, he can do this. He can do this. He has to be normal. And of course, as he grew, things went south, went into a bit of depression. And at some point, I started bargaining with God till I've reached this point of acceptance. I got there quite a while back. Now, that in itself is a story of its own, but it's a beautiful place to be, to accept that this is God's child and I'm a steward. I think let me stop right there.
Now we are going to hear from Amber and Eunice, and please introduce yourselves. I'm going to leave you on the floor to tell your story, and then we'll take it from there.
Right, good evening, everybody. I'm Amber Chips, and I own a school called the Rainbow Room. It's an education system that I've developed for autistic children. I'm a mom of 2 children, a 15-year-old son who has got 7 types of dyslexia, ADHD, anxiety, and Autism Level Spectrum 1. And I've got a daughter who's also ASD Level 1, and there's also ADHD. So it's a very personal journey for me to make sure that we could provide something for our children that could individually suit each one of them so that they could get through school. And I've just been really blessed along the way to find people who are so willing to come on board and treat this like their passion. And yeah, it's just been amazing. I mean, you know, like Melissa was saying, when you realize your children are different and special, it's that grief cycle of, oh my gosh, are they ever going to be able to do, what can I do differently? Was it something I did wrong in pregnancy? And the more you spend time in it, the more you realize there's actually so much hope for them. And if you get a team of people working with you that aren't just interested in money and that want to do what's best for the children, there is such a bright future for them. I mean, my 15-year-old son, he's getting top marks and he can't read or write. He does everything by memory. And I'm so incredibly proud of him for that. But it's a really rough journey. And there are times as a parent where you're just like, come on, please, can it not just get easier for them? And I think, you know, that whole thing of if you've got an autistic child, you're basically in a battlefield. It's not that you are a warrior, it's that you are having to do so much more and fight so much harder for the small things that they should be getting as children. So I think that was very personal to me in starting this Rainbow Room and wanting to create a different education system for these kids that can gear them towards coping in this world. And I've been very lucky to just have had good windfall after good windfall of people going, yes, this is going to work. And that's where I have my Eunice. And Shame, she is the director of my Rainbow Room. And yeah, she's my what's 2RC? So yeah, I'll let Eunice introduce herself. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eunice Dooley, and I'm a Rainbow Room special needs teacher, and as well as a director of the Rainbow Room. And I'm a mother of 2. I've got 2 boys. I've got a 20-year-old and I've got a 4-year-old. And they both on spectrum, but they function on a high Q level where they just pass everything with A, but emotionally they can't do on their, they can't maintain their own level. And as the First Lady say, I think it's Melissa, also someone say, it's not an easy journey. And I developed the love and the dedication for the special need kids. When I look at those children, I'm like, they got something similar like me when I grew up. And now I'm glad that I know that I'm also autistic. However, I'm on a different level. As we all know that autism is all on a different levels. Yeah. But I find those children, they do the things that similar the things that I was doing when I was a baby. So I was so interested while I'm doing my teaching. I'm like, these kids are weird like me in a classroom. They can't sit, they flip on a desk, they want to sit on the floor, they want to fish it, they want to jumping up and down. And I was like, okay, let me change to a special need kids. So I got my degree and my bachelor on special need kids where I know them better now. And that helps me to find myself better. I'm on a better position now where I can say I'm loving them because now I know better and I know myself better. I think I must just stop there before I go on and on and on.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. And now I must confess we are here to learn as much as possible. But I'll start by asking Eve, at what point did you decide to perhaps seek help? Was there any point that you said, I need some help with this child? Please unmute.
Okay. I have unmuted and I wonder, let's see. Okay, I'm unmuted. Yeah. And I think the video is also there somewhere, some angle of the video. So yes, at what point did I realize, okay, our journey, since this was our firstborn, we had no template to know how does a child behave. But we began to notice that there was a delay in some of the milestones. And the critical one was speech. Speech was not coming through. Instead, I had a very adventurous son, and I think that is called the ADHD, though by that time, some of those things were not even clearly defined in Uganda. So from being told by a very bright person that I think your son may have speech aphasia, then the story began to grow and we went to the US. For some reason or another, there was caution to inform us that our child was on a spectrum of communication, speech and communication disabilities. That was the mouthful that was coming out back in the day. So they did an assessment, they came out with something, and then they didn't tell us clearly what it was all about. So what happens, we reverse to Uganda, and then I meet a very nice friend of mine, and she also had just discovered that her daughter, her firstborn, was autistic. And she said she went all the way to the UK to try to understand what that was all about. Sat there, was told a whole host of things, returned home and realized she picked up nothing. So it was at her school that one day a visiting teacher who had come to teach at her special school, known as Integrated Education, Hill Preparatory School. So he looked at my son and he just made the comment, your son is speaking a lot to himself. And by this time he was running 9, 10 years old. He was in the class, out of the class. You would dress him up very nicely and pretty soon the shirt is flying the other way. He's unbuttoned and he's injuring himself, but he's not conscious that there is pain on him. And he's fixated on electricals and machines and appliances. Still no sensible speech. That is the person who finally caused me to understand that what my son was struggling with was known as autism. But all along, the language was, oh, there is a speech and language disability that your child has. So from then on, it has been an amazing adventure, because rather than looking at it as a curse, it just became an adventure of an experience. And I ended up becoming actually a parent counselor to parents in that school who felt maybe it was the curse of the gods, the ancestors have struck back, or it's the husband's fault, it's your genes, that sort of thing. So yes, that's my little story. Thank you.
Oh, wow, wow. Okay, so let me just ask a question of the Rainbow Room, the two ladies from the Rainbow Room, but also, ladies, you can answer it as well. Has there been any theories that autism can be late onset? Have you an explanation of what is being said that autism can be late onset? In fact, an initially well-adjusted child then develops mood swings, quite grown up, mood swings, poor coordination, fatigue, anxiety, writing and reading difficulties, and visual perception. Have you seen that happen, or is it recognized?
Definitely. A lot of parents say that their child will be developing normally until the age of 2. And then they notice this huge regression in their behavior. And they all of a sudden stop talking, or they stop doing the things that they normally do, or they have violent outbursts, or they become extra emotional, or their talking becomes more babbling. And that's often when the brain makes those 2-year big jumps, between 0 and 2. It's that beginning stages of life where they're having to learn to survive, and they cry when they're hungry, and they cope, and they learn new words to communicate with people. But what happens is when they get to that next stage where they now have to start thinking and comprehending their surroundings and manipulating their surroundings to work for them, they get to a stage where their neural pathways aren't firing the same as a neurotypical person. They're neurospicy. So it's going to be, they can't think as quickly, or they can't process the amounts of input, the sound, the noises, the visual lights, everything happening at the same time. And that makes them seem delayed in so many areas. So we've definitely seen, and especially in speaking to parents, they're like, but everything was fine. And at 2, it was those vaccines. At 2, it was that maybe we had a trauma in our family. And a lot of the times the parents have to just be kinder to themselves and realize the brain makes these big jumps in development. And if the child's brain isn't ready to move in that direction for whatever reason, be it overstimulation, be it dysregulation, they're going to find it a lot harder to get to the next stage. And therefore, they're going to seem delayed. So we need to make sure that there's a lot of support supplied amongst that ECD, where they are going into the cognitive learning, thinking, reasoning. I think that's very important for them, because, as they get older, if a child is absolutely fine until the age of 10, 11, 12, and then starts showing regression, you worry more so of medical intervention there. But I think with the little ones, you feel as a parent, especially if it's your only child, you don't have other children to weigh that child up against. You don't have a class of children that you can measure them up against. You think that everything's going fine, and then you get to the next big jump, 2, 4, 6, 8. Those are the big jumps for the brain. And it's almost like, I always explain it to parents as if your road is a highway and there's potholes and bricks and things on the highway, that car isn't going to travel as fast. That neural connection is not going to happen as quickly. And it's got to navigate all the sights and sounds and everything in between. And it looks like the development is slower, but actually it's a much more steadfast development, because they never forget what they are taught. And although they will talk, but then they won't talk for a while, they still know how to talk and say those words. They're now just focusing their development on something different. So you definitely do get a lot of that guilt from parents, and you do get a lot of that, but everything was fine and now it's not fine. But a lot of the time we remember that it's because their brain is not firing along neural pathways that have a direct line.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that I actually introduced the concept of the gut-brain connection, because that is going to also be part of our discussion. But I also want to ask a question of whoever would like to answer. I don't know what that was.
I'm so
Okay.
sorry. My side. Sorry. Problem on my side. Sorry.
All right. Interpreting the symptoms and signs can be quite challenging, and it brings a lot of heartache when they are interpreted. But I want us to ask a question that I've been always asking ever since even before I went into medical school. And this is the question: what else could it be? What else could it be apart from just resigning to, oh, well, it must be autism. Let's leave it at that. And I have a short list here. Because of the gut-brain connection: inflammatory foods and food sensitivities. Because we have seen that there is quite a lot of allergies and food sensitivities that occur in autistic children or children on the spectrum. Okay. And so, do you go down that path with parents? And for the two parents on the call, well, all of you are parents on the call, but Marisa and Eve, have you ever asked yourselves, what else could this be? Or what could make it better?
You want
Who would like to take?
San Eve or us?
Whoever is ready to put up, to unmute and pitch in.
Yes,
No?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do have a way forward where we're involving the dietitian. We're referring our parents to the dietitian to take a look and measure the child and address all the other ways that can help the child, as all the kids need a good vitamin, nutrients, and all the stuff to grow. So we're working along with the dietitian in our school.
We've noticed, if you're irritated and you've got an allergy and you're scratching all the time, or your gut is irritated and you've got cramps in your bowel and you can't physically talk or say, I've got a sore stomach or something's wrong, that can really add to the frustration and dysregulation of the kiddies a lot of the time as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And then just a quick question on ADHD. Do you feel that it is overdiagnosed? Just
Yes.
asking.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. That's such an emphatic yes.
Yeah, the education system is not built for children to move. And children need to move. Right up to the age of 15, they should be moving throughout their school day. They shouldn't be stagnant, sitting behind a desk, working on a piece of paper. Our life, not even as adults do we live like that. We might have a job to do and we work for short periods behind a computer. But movement is so important in every way. So we need to teach those kids how to move and how to use their brains, because they really, really are incredible. And education just makes them sit a lot of the time. It's stagnant learning. It's just input.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ADHD.
So now that's a good point at which to. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
And the class are also overloaded.
Yeah.
It's like you got 50 children in a classroom. How can they be not gonna be like overstimulated? Because it's just the environment that is, everyone is there and the classes are not too big for them to move.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe it's a good point at which you can tell us your curriculum or your curricula, plural, so that we hear on a typical day, for example. How do you? Eve, let's speak first and then we'll listen to Amber and Eunice. Unmute.
Oh, by the way, I'm also interested in hearing their curriculum. But what happened is, when I went to this particular school, it was called Inclusive Education, I think the first of its kind. But I'm very, whatever you're sharing is just marvelous. I'm taking notes. So what we decided was, reduce on the number of children in the class, but include them in the regular curriculum, and then find a way to design something simpler for them, especially in the early stages. Start off with things that the whole class, but few in number, can get engaged in. This child then can be with the rest in order to interact, but then the teacher who is there, and I think it's more than one teacher has to be in the class, pays special attention to this child. I tell you, it was such a major experience walking with my son through that arrangement. And he's in the class, and then, yeah, he feels like going out, and they would let him go amazingly. The teachers wouldn't go and find him and fetch him back into the class. And I think that gave him probably one of the healthiest for an autistic child environment. We also let him loose where we lived. We decided that if people found him odd, we would simply say, the problem is yours, not his. We're not going to go everywhere explaining, oh, you see, he's this, oh, we just leave him to survive out there. The adventures were many, but within the campus where we were, they got to know this boy who would carry a long stick to go to fetch his siblings from school. He knew to fetch the younger ones from nursery school. But he went with his vehicle, which was a long stick, and sometimes cars had to wait for him to cross the road. We didn't follow him, but I used to say, God, he has an angel. Let the angel watch over him. And when it gets late, I say, God, he needs to come home. And some angel would find him around looking at building and construction sites and say, I think you need to follow me home. And they'd bring him home. So,
Oh, wow.
But that allowed him to develop without constraints. And I wonder, but I do believe that it probably has contributed a lot to him being able to recognize, I'm the oldest child. I would just tell him, you're the firstborn, you are responsible for this, that, and the other. And well, let me not take other people's time. Let me hear what others are saying.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I just had another point that I want to raise before we open it up to the audience for about 5 or 10 minutes. And that is other contributing factors that we find in our way of life. I'll talk about one, fluoride in toothpaste is known to be damaging to the hydrogen bonds that hold our genetic material called DNA together. And it is also known to damage areas of the brain that are important for memory and emotions, the hippocampus. But yet we start using it early. It's also in water systems, right? And then another one is the use of pesticides, the use of refined sugar products, and the use of other what we call excitotoxins, such as food colorants, MST, and then electromagnetic fields, and also our liberal allowing of television and all those visual stimuli. What is your opinion? I'm just so keen to hear.
That all plays such a huge role, and especially the dietary side, you've got children who are such fussy eaters, they only eat certain things. So the go-to is fast foods and quick things that you buy at the shop so that at least the child's getting food. No one wants their baby to go hungry. And that obviously puts them on a back foot because now they're not going to be nutritionally balanced. A lot of the autistic children seek the dopamine from screen time, TVs. And that's the only downtime that they get during the day to just seek input instead of having to feel like they have to interact with this world that can be too loud, too noisy, too much. They get to sit with this tablet. So that's their quiet time. But what actually happens is it dysregulates them because there's so much dopamine. There's so much influx of just sitting that their body actually needs to move. So it needs to be this well-balanced, well-rounded time that they spend being a child, playing. Parents also see their autistic child as totally disabled, like they've got to do everything for them. You know, Eve was saying, let him be. A lot of parents believe that their child cannot do anything for themselves because they are autistic. But if they just get given a little bit, if you presume competence just a little, they live up to it. You know, you're never going to struggle. You're not going to never help them pull up their pants, but you've got to say, come pull it up, pull up. You've got to also have the patience and the time to be able to say, I know he can do this. It's okay. If he gets lost, someone will bring him back to me. He's got people protecting him. And you've got to set up that environment where you've got this tribe of people around the family who face so much mean, like, input from other people. There's so much judgment, and their own families, their own religions, their own circles, you know, and they never allow these children to be as competent as they can be because a lot of it is disabling. And so the iPad gets used as a babysitter. The fast foods are just to keep them quiet, but it's just neglecting the needs along the way out of sheer desperation because they don't know how to do better. It's a complicated system because there isn't a book you can pick up and say, well, my child will respond to this. It's kind of something you have to work with a team on, and that can become expensive, time-consuming, emotionally exhausting. For a full-time parent or a single parent, you just feel like it is too much. It is too much.
And to add to what Amber's saying, I think it's quite challenging, especially to Africans at this point, just because there is a lot of religious. Each and every religion it's valid, it's been respected, but we're wasting so much time on it's a curse. You need to do the cleansing. You need to see the traditional healer. You need to do this. It's because you don't discipline enough. The denial when it comes to the Africans is so high in such a way that, okay, I'm going to end up doing what? Hiding my child because I'm worried about my standards. I'm worrying about my church, the people. I'm on a higher position. How the people going to think? If we can just start to recognize them, accept them, their acceptance is a key.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And like you were saying, with the involvement, involve people. You don't have to make, you don't have to say, oh, so sorry, my child's autistic. Please bear with me. He's autistic. You can actually just carry on with your day. And if they can accept it, it is their problem. And you don't have to make excuses for your child. You are helping them regulate in that moment. And if people don't agree with what you do, well, then they don't agree. If they're not going to step in and help, then they must step out the way.
Yeah.
Okay,
I see Eve is really agreeing with you. Carry on, Marisa.
Okay, so what I've listened to, the ladies have told my story. Amber, you've talked about the way their brain works and how fast it works and, you know, the obstacles along the way. Many years ago, we didn't quite understand that. All we understood was now what Eunice said, the African perspective of it. It's all about a religious thing. It's a curse. And you'll be convinced that your child has been bewitched, and you'll go down that path and you'll find the witch. And then, you know, you really go down that road. But now we've come to a point where we know better, we know more, and we're out to encourage other women, other parents to go with the flow and not to make brats out of them at the same time, because they are able to take care of things. They can be taught. You just have to be more patient. But then, and many years ago, 30 years ago, an autistic child has no sense of danger, as it were. My son stepped in front of a speeding taxi and was hit. But Daniel's here today, but they just don't see that danger. So it's another thing that many of us need to know, that it's not our fault, it's not their fault, you know, because God takes care of these ones. God takes care of his children. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. To the audience, you can stick your hand up if you have a question to ask, or please use the chat room. And I'm just so grateful that we're having this conversation. Just to remind you, starting tomorrow, the 1st of April, we have Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. And this is a designated month around the world, I suppose. But it is so important that we support each other. And that is how we opened up. But while questions are coming, I just want to talk a little bit about where we are at. And this is our beautiful panel. We want to talk a little bit about nutrition because Eve, Maliza, and I, and a lot of the people on the call are very passionate about nutrition, and particularly because we've been encouraged by the company that we belong to called Neolife to take nutrition seriously. So I just want to go quickly through what Neolife offers to impact the lives of children with special needs. And I hope it will be an interesting discussion because we all want to make the world a healthier and happier place. I want to point out this lady. Her name is Julie Matthews. You may know her. You may have heard of her. She's an award-winning author of a book called Nourishing Hope for Autism. And she talks a lot about the importance of nutrition. So with anybody in the world, you will never change your life until you change something you do daily. And the secret of your success is found in your daily routine. So it is important for children on the autistic spectrum to actually have consistency in their lives. And just listening to Eve's story, and of course, I know Mariza's story reasonably well. It has just reinforced the message that we have. Okay, so who can we trust as far as nutrition supplements specifically are concerned is what I want to introduce now. And that is, we have a scientific advisory board. Everything that we have is based in nature and backed by science. And by that we mean it is human natural food, as in food. And it was established in 1976 by Dr. Arthur First. I'm talking about the Scientific Advisory Board. But the company itself has been going since 1958, so quite a while. And for children, we have what we call the core nutrition, and they have the essential oils that are required, the essential fatty acids. We also have antioxidants out of fruits and vegetables, all very important. The amino acids, the preparations with amino acids are designed to maintain stable blood sugar because wild blood sugar fluctuations cause nerve damage and they cause the brain, it causes the brain to become more susceptible to toxins and to damage. And that's what we are talking about. We try to keep blood sugar in a narrow range. So these are the symptoms that one sees when there is fatty acid deficiencies. And very often, Amber pointed out that autistic children or children on the spectrum tend to have other complications and other conditions as well. So it's important to note nutrition. And when you supply a good supplement, such as omega-3, the one in this company is complete. It is the only one on the market that gives you all the 8 molecules of omega-3. Most other companies will supply you at best 2, and this one gives you all 8. Because a healthy gut-brain connection depends on the availability of correct essential fatty acids. Then I'm going to soon close. You can control your environment by choice, and we've talked about the chemicals that might come and disturb us, fluoride, chlorine, all those things, as well as other chemicals. So Neolife was the first company to go green on the planet. And this is my story. That's why I signed up, because I wanted cleaning products that wouldn't leave residues around my home. And we have a laundry compound. If you can visualize, other products
Everybody still there?
Yeah, looks like we've lost Dr. Eseza. I
Oh
hope
no.
she'll come back on.
Yes,
Okay,
Maybe we
sure.
give
like we have lost her, sort of.
Yeah,
Sure.
sorry.
I'm sure she'll
Maybe,
come back on shortly.
maybe if you can carry on talking about the products, she'll come on, most likely.
Maybe Anne can continue with the products.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
there you are.
there, she's back, is she?
Yay. Okay.
Okay. Who are we saying yay for? For
Oh,
Eseza.
I can see Dr. Caesar, but I can't hear her.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yay, you're
Yeah.
back. Yes.
Back.
Yes, okay. We were disturbed by a blip in network. We've had issues the whole day, but let's just carry on. So my slideshow seems to have vanished. Let's see.
We were
But
on
I was coming to an end.
G1 Laundry.
Okay, let's just go back a bit. Right, that is the laundry. Non-toxic, 100% biodegradable, very, very economical, and it will make a difference because that is removing a stressor, a stress factor immediately, and that's something that we can do by choice. Oxygen bleach, not chlorine bleaches. That's something else that is worth noting. And then, of course, this poster is just to remind us that we have our minds to look after. Your mind will always believe everything you tell it and everything we tell our children as well. So we need to feed hope, truth, and to feed with love. So I just want to say we appreciate you very much for coming as our guests, Amber and Eunice. We appreciate you for all the work you do to demystify autism,
Thank
to
you.
kindly and patiently welcome individuals and their families into your unique space. And I'm yet to visit it, but it's up the road from me, so I will visit you.
Yay.
And I just also want to thank the entire panel, ladies. Thank you for telling your stories. Thank you for encouraging others who might have a challenge with their child or their children for that matter, and don't know where to turn. And Eve, you said you are a counselor. I know, Marisa, you are quite involved with LASH and everything that goes on. And yeah, thank you. So let us continue to learn from each other, support and encourage one another to demystify autism. Together, we can make the world healthier and happier. So thank you. Let's see if there are
Everybody.
any.
Thank you.
Let's see if there are any questions, and then we will all go off.
I've lost the chat, but there was a question that was sitting there for a while. I wanted to
Sorry.
know whether a child with autism can grow to full independence with time.
Yes, they can.
I think we've got some mothers here. Yes.
Absolutely. I'm autistic. Eunice is autistic. We live happy, healthy lives. There's certain things that you'll find difficult as you get older. Computers is my big thing. So this was a real big achievement for Eunice and I today to come on here. Yay! But that is where you learn how to ask for help. No one's ever going to say no if you say, that is something I find difficult. I just need help with that. And if you teach them the skills to know what they're really good at and what they need help with, your child will go far. I guarantee you.
I'm sorry, I seem to have lost a few of the questions, but let me see if I can call them up here. Okay.
There's one who wants to know where Rainbow Room is located.
It is located, okay.
Okay, so we're in KwaZulu-Natal in Kloof. We're in Igwababa Road, which is right next door to the old Makaranga Gardens. So you'll be able to see us from the freeway. So it's number 1 Igwababa Road in Kloof, KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, South Africa.
So, yeah, it's important to come and visit me first of all, and I'll take you there with pleasure. But I will first take myself. So you'll see me soon. Because as I say, you're not too far.
I can't wait. Please.
Yeah.
Okay. To add on top of the question, the guy that has been asking if they're gonna be able to grow until they find themselves. Yes, that's why the early intervention is so important that the Rainbow Room doing, because now you got this body, it's got the hands and the feet and the mouth, but you don't know what to do about this. So to regulate them through the OT is helping them to find and they grow and they're able to do the things by themselves.
And speech, so they can express themselves, you know. If you've got all of that when they're little, they can only go far.
Awesome. So ladies and gentlemen, if there are any other questions, please stick your hand up or write them. We have maybe 3 minutes before we log off and de-stress from the EMF that we are exposed to. It's one of the factors, right? So,
I've put my hand up there. I wanted to say that it depends. Autism is rather a spectrum. And there are those who are on the far end and they're called Asperger's. And they are the ones who have the least challenge. But those who are further on the other side sometimes are really very, very challenged.
I know.
And they would need a certain amount of continued assistance and guidance, but not in an overbearing way. Yeah. It's going to be the task and the challenge of the caregivers and those loving parents to discover what their actual talent is. They may not be able to have speech. Like my son, for a long time, speech wasn't there. And they had sort of capped it and said, what he isn't able to do at 14, he will never be able to do. And of course, we didn't believe that. We just continued allowing him to live. And so he has picked up speech, now a bit of speech, but moving alongside them while allowing them to express what they can do, and then finding ways of affirming that child is the greatest thing that you can do, particularly in the Ugandan context. We aren't very far down the road, but I have a sibling who has an autistic child who, being in the UK, has been so trained, and he doesn't have speech. He has been so trained that he can carry on his life reasonably independently. But here, it is still an unfolding experience. And that the school, Hill Preparatory School, I have watched children who, because of careful early intervention, have gone on to be able to even attend to academic excellence where they transcribe questions. And it was that school where they first began to transcribe examination questions and craft them in such a way
that this particular child is able to speak and deliver the answers, and they are graded and they are graduated. So,
Wow.
Amazing.
yeah. So, yeah. Thank you. I think that's.
By the way, that is a characteristic of children on the spectrum. They're highly intelligent, right?
Yeah.
Many of them.
Incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. We've had 4-year-olds who can read but have no social skills. We've had other children
Yes.
who are doing brilliant math, but they can't actually talk properly, or they can't interact with their friends or share. So it just takes all different kinds of understanding and patience and little techniques with them to show them how to communicate and how to do things that really makes the biggest world of difference for them and their families.
Okay,
Really wonderful.
my son is really, I think, on the other side, very, very few words in his, he has very few words, very particular, very picky. But then the sobering truth that I had to come to was to know, one, he's going to outlive me, all right? Then
Right.
how have I prepared for that? I had to get
Great. Great.
release him. I had to emotionally release him, right? And also to know that he is not his siblings' burden. That's out.
Yeah.
All right. Because these are girls, they're getting married. And I once told them, especially his twin sister was so concerned. And I just told her, you will not be going with your brother into your marriage. Okay. So we have to set up systems where you release them and really know that it is not your burden either. Because at some point they would refer to him as, how will Kato live without you? And I got to this point of saying, we are not joined at the hip. We are actually two independent humans. I'm the mother, he's the
Amen.
son, and he has a life, right?
Great.
So there's a lot of emotional disconnect in all the love that you have to make realistically for your mental health and for theirs.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that has been a process, my darling, hasn't it? It's been a process.
Thanks to you.
Yeah.
You helped me settle him in the community home he's in. He loves to go when he goes. He loves to come home when he comes for a break. I couldn't ask for more.
Yeah. By the way, Marisa and I are sisters. I've only got one sister, like she has only got one sister, me. So we've walked this journey together. Right, ladies, I wish I had time to say a motivating and encouraging word, but I will, because we can go a minute over. Rainbow Room, what would you like to encourage our audience with before we go home?
Okay, on our closing at the Rainbow Room, as Eunice as the director of the Rainbow Room, I'd like to say, let's support to each other. Let's think about those parents that have got the autistic children. Just give that parent a hug and understand where he's coming from instead of judgmentally. Let's just support those parents. Let's just give them a love, and let's go down to those kids and acknowledge them and value them, and making sure that they've been seen and they're also been heard.
Absolutely.
And I think the biggest thing that we can take from this is that we have to love them, because a lot of the time they don't feel that absolute acceptance from people. And you know when you're not accepted. They're incredibly smart. And they know when judgment is passed at them. And they know what the glances and the looks mean. So we need to make sure we've got a much kinder environment for them to say, it's okay if they do things differently. So what? Still getting done. So I think it's important that we all just support each other and stop blaming the ancestors, stop blaming the medication, stop blaming the things that have gone wrong. Let's just look at the child for who they are and literally love them and accept them. That's all we can do, because everything else will then fall into place. Provide them with whatever we can from as early as possible, speech, OT, dietary. You can only do the best that you can do. Absolutely. And then you've got to leave the rest to God. and you've got to know that you have got a team behind them and that you haven't neglected them in this world of love. I think that's the most important.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That's
I just want to applaud you again.
Thank you for having us on your show, Dr. Cesar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good night. We'll see each other next week again for something different. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hearts and love.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.